To regulate or not to regulate, tonight fierce resistance from religious bodies over proposal to regulate activities of pastors and churches that pray and abuse their congregants psychologically, emotionally, and even physically in the name of religion.
But I don't think the solution is an easy way to legislation that will solve the problem.
We will follow emotions and end up creating a monster that in the long run we will not be able to deal with it.
We'll explore what exists in law and hear why the MPs want the state's intervention.
Many of these people are not under any of these organizations. And all what will be told is that, oh no, it's freedom of worship, freedom of association. Meanwhile, people are taking advantage of these laws to be duping people.
That's coming up here on Top Story, brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Gasm cements the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready. And Nationwide Medical Health Insurance, your healthcare family. And there's fierce resistance from some religious bodies over proposal to legislate the activities of pastors believed to be abusing congregants in the name of religion. The Speaker of Parliament, Reverend Professor Michael Quay, himself a Reverend Minister, has given the MPs up to 1 month to draw up the regulation to streamline the excesses in Christendom. The Christian Council of Ghana has signaled to Parliament to hasten slowly in its quest for a legislation that will seek to clamp down on pastors and churches that prey on the naivety of their members. Some members of Parliament yesterday argued that the state must step in with the legislation to clamp down on the activities of these men of God in court. Here's one of them, Ebenezer Latte, MP for Ablekuma Central.
There are some of the churches that are doing things that are not Christianity. Example, and yesterday I said so many examples. One, somebody has married for so many years, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. He has not given birth. And then you go to a pastor, and the pastor says that unless I sleep with you, before when you sleep with your husband, you can able to conceive. Is that Christianity? You go to a church, and the pastor will say that today, if I like, I'll preach. If I like, I'll prophesy. Is that a Christianity? We go to a church that they will tell you that your mother, your father, your sister, your auntie is the one who is making you to be poor in life. Is that Christianity? Is that what the Bible tells us? And these are some of the things that we are talking about. You go to a church and the pastor will say that take this little minimum and go and sit and you'll be rich. Is that Christianity? A church and the pastor will tell you, everybody knows that naturally, everybody knows that at the end of every month or beginning of every month, a lady, so far as he has gotten to a teenage stage, she will menstruate. A whole in the front of the congregation. And the pastor for all women here, come. If you are 18 and 19 years and above, come here. This month you're all going to have your menstruation. It's normal that.
We'll expand that conversation with him shortly here on Top Story. But the Speaker of Parliament, Right Reverend Professor Michael Quay, like I said, is asking that the committee should get a 1 month timeline. He's given them a 1 month timeline. He's actually backing these calls for legislation to regularize the activities of these churches. And he's given the joint committees of Youth, Sports and Culture and the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee that 1 month timeline to investigate and report back to the House on how best to regulate these churches.
It's duly referred to the Joint Committee of Youth, Sports and Culture and the Legal Constitutional Affairs Committee. As we have clearly seen, there are legal constitutional implications which are very, very, very clear. They should work and report to this honorable House within 1 month. They must consult widely, as this is a very, very important national issue.
So as a Ghanaian, an ordinary Ghanaian for that matter, what do you make of this move by Parliament, these concerns that are being raised by MPs and, of course, those who are concerned about this matter as well? But you've been speaking to us on the streets of Accra.
There are some things it's not even supposed to be done in churches, but they are doing it just because they don't or they are not under these rules and regulations. So I think it's okay. Me personally, I have not had any experience, but I think I have television, so I watch it on it, and Some things, I don't want to mention names, but there are some things that they do. I don't think it's supposed to be done at that time or in the house of God.
I think when it comes to religious setup, it's an entity on its own, and everyone has its beliefs. So if as a government is coming in to regulate it, I don't think it's going to be a good idea.
It's a step in the right direction because some of the churches right now are really making people not go to church. They are really turning people's head up and down. I don't know. It's good that the government has to regulate them.
Yeah, I would say it's a nice idea. It's a good decision that they are taking because pastors of today, they do things that when you think of it, we don't understand because I prefer that they'll stop them from doing those things because you can't just kiss someone's wife in the auditorium. It's not good. It's not good.
But General Secretary of the Christian Council, Reverend Cyril Fayose, says legislation will not solve the problem. He wants Parliament to hasten slowly on this.
My immediate comment is that they should hasten slowly. We do realize the problem that is confronting us, and we are equally concerned, and we are also looking for ways to address the issue. But I don't think the solution is an easy way to legislation that will solve the problem. It's a more complex problem than it looks. So we are asking the legislators to hasten slowly. The Christian Council is working very hard so that we can come together as Christian leaders and do some stuff. But eventually we will need the state, the legislative body, to give us legislative backing. And when we get there, then we will need their support. So what I'm basically saying is that they should give us some time for the councils, Christian councils, to work on the problem, and then we'll come back for legislative backing.
That's the General Secretary of the Christian Council, Reverend Cyril Fayose, and we're privileged to be joined on the phone by the MP for Ablekuma Central, Ebenezer Lartey. We're grateful for your time here on Top Story. So to start with, you've heard the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. He thinks that a legislation will not solve the problem and that the Christian Council should be given some time. They will come up with some ways that they can deal with these issues that you raise. Don't you think it's a good idea?
Thank you very much, and let me say good evening to your cherished listeners. Yes, that's exactly what we are talking about. And for me, I believe that the Christian Council, the Charismatic Council, and then the Christian Council and the Charismatic Council, I think it is long overdue. Because those issues that we raised yesterday, we have talked about it. I have once heard the former chairman of the Christian Council, Reverend Openi Frimpong. I've also heard some senior ministers of God in this country saying that some of these churches that involve themselves into this kind of businesses, that is how I describe it, are not part of the Charismatic Council or the Christian Council because they are not part of them. They cannot regulate and also deal with them when they do something which is bad. And it is obvious that, yes, the Christian Council have waited too long because some of these things are creating so much nuisance in our country. And we believe as members of parliament, constituents come to us. We watch telly, we listen to radio, we see the activities of some of these pastors, and we believe that it is time for us as Ghanaians to see how best we can deal with some of these nuisance that is happening in our church. I am a Presbyterian. I am a presbyter in my church. I believe in prophecy. I believe in miracles. But I believe strongly that the attitude and behaviors of some of these pastors does not warrant what they are really doing because they are preaching Christ. And for goodness sake, we are expecting that our behaviors and the way and manner we handle things and do things in the church should be like Christ. But it is not like that.
Okay.
As I said, I have set so many examples that most of us are witness to it. And we believe that it is high time we deal with some of these situations before it gets out of hand.
But you seem to be blaming it all on these pastors and the churches, like you're saying. But you're leaving out those congregants that are not reading their Bible and have itchy ears and goes to these people for the instructions that they give them. And indeed, they carry them out.
Yesterday on the floor of Parliament, when I was doing my contribution, I did not focus on only the ministers or the the so-called prophets and prophetess and what have you. I also talked about the members of the church as well that are being led. And excuse me to say, sometimes if you decide to tell the person the truth, he or she thinks that you are blocking his or a blessing. But the fact of the matter is that it is not like that. But I also believe that, yes, we advise the people, but the core issue is the prophet and the prophetess and whatever they call themselves. They are the people that we need to whip them, and by so doing, it will descend on the church members as well. I must say this, that none of us that had opportunity to speak on the issue yesterday says that the parliament should come out with a law to regulate activities of churches. That is not what we are saying.
So what were you looking at? Mm-hmm.
What we are saying is that these churches, because some of them are not part of the various associations, and then they will come and tell us that yes, it's freedom of association, freedom of worship, and freedom of this. But we believe that there should be a proper mechanism put in place, because we know that some of these things are creating so many nuisance in the church and in the country as well. Some of them have their own radio and TV station. And my sister, I must be honest with you. I don't know whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, but if you are a Christian, sometimes you watch some of these things and you know for a fact this is not Christianity.
But there are laws in place, existing laws, institutions that are supposed to be curbing this, but they are sitting down watching. Will we need another law to deal with this?
That is why I said that the Christian Council have sat down for too long. They have sat down for too long.
But they are not empowered to do this. You just said it yourself that it's freedom of association. And if these pastors are not members of the Christian Council, how do they regulate them?
That is why we are saying that we should regularize it. So if there's an amendment that we need to do in the law for the Christian Council and Pentecostal Council and the Charismatic Council, then there's a need for us to look into it and do it. Because we believe if we are going to always rely on it's freedom of this, freedom of this, freedom of that, my sister, at the end of the day, we are destroying people's family, we are destroying people's work, we are destroying people's life and property. I keep on saying, yesterday I was making a call and I said that yes, some men of God will come and say that yes, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. Meanwhile, you are creating problem in people's house. You are creating harm in people's family. And here, as I spoke to your colleague, I said so many examples. We are looking at things that is happening in the church that we believe that it is not Christianity. It is not Christ-like life.
Okay,
that is what we are talking about.
So we have a Criminal Offences Act, for instance, 1960, that talks about this charlatanic activities and all. We are not enforcing that. Are we looking at this as well?
That is what I'm saying, that all these laws are there. If these laws are not being implemented, if we are not enforcing this law, this is the time that some of us are saying that enough is enough, and therefore, if the laws are there, let's implement these laws and deal with the situation once and for all. We should not sit down.
Okay, we are grateful for your time. That's the Ablekuma Central MP Ebenezer Lartey. We'll still stay on the phone lines and speak to the president for the Concerned Clergy Association of Ghana, Bishop Prince Benny Wood. We're grateful for your time here on Newsnight. So it looks like Christendom brought this upon themselves if we have to get a new law to regulate activities. That's the call. Valid?
Well, I think I listened to the MP. He sounds like somebody who lacks understanding of what he is trying to even project. Or the point is that there's a fixation. There's a fixation on some portion of the clergy within the kingdom of God, and that fixation is what is fueling his understanding of what is happening, which is not what it is really happening. If you talk about the fact that the problem is with prophet and prophetess, when you go to America and Europe, the problem of Christianity in America and Europe is caused by Roman Catholic Church. They are bishops and priests who have been sleeping with little boys and girls. So are they prophets and prophetess? They should stop what they are doing. This whole thing is an agenda. It's an agenda to attack certain portion of the clergy within the kingdom of God.
Why would anybody want to do that? Don't we see what is going on?
No, what is going on? If you have a problem, the first thing you have to do as a legislature is to find out this problem, does it have a solution? Does it have a law that deals with the problem? If there's a law that deals with the problem, you enforce the law. You don't just come and generalize and pretend as if something is happening that has never happened before, and because of that we need a law, we need this. They are creating a kind of an alarming situation. As if there is nothing happening today that has never happened before. He doesn't know the history of the church in Ghana. He has no idea what he's talking about. It's because today we have technology that when things happen within 24 hours, it can, it gets into people's homes and all that. But I'm telling you, just last week Sunday, didn't Dr. Mensah say something for the media to misquote him to create problem? So we have to understand what is happening. This is not what he's talking about. He doesn't even seem to understand. Parliament itself, I have met the Speaker of Parliament before to discuss with him how we can streamline the activities of the church. He told me plainly that the freedom of association, the freedom of worship, and freedom of speech are linked together in our constitution. So it is not easy to touch one and leave the other. And that is why that area is no-go area. And we discuss it. And if you look at the Criminal Code of Ghana, all the things they are talking about that pastors are doing and all, some charlatans and criminals and fraudsters, there is a law to deal with it. If you think that somebody has committed a crime, you just go ahead and deal with the person. You don't generalize the issue and make it look like the church. Look, irrespective of whatever anybody is saying against the church and pastors, the best people and the best institution to bring change and hope to the world is the church and pastors. They should stop saying the things they are saying.
But are you giving that hope? Are you bringing that hope, knowing that there are some excesses in the system? At least we all see on TV, people stamping the bellies of pregnant women and all that, flogging people in church. Is that Christianity?
It's because you people and the MPs and some of these people are walking in arrogance.
We are?
You are assuming that you are wiser than those people who go there. That's the point. You think you are wiser than the people who go to those churches. So
really?
You are thinking for them. You understand? You think that people who sit there, they don't know what they get from there. If you think somebody has committed a crime, go and deal with the person as a criminal. Don't generalize the issue. There are laws in Ghana. Nobody can live above the law. If a crime has been committed, deal with it as a crime. But don't deal with it like an epidemic that is happening. It's not an epidemic. It's not. It's not an epidemic. It's an individual, one or two or three people doing things. There are thousands of churches and thousands of pastors. You have never heard their names. You have never seen them. Okay. Why do you make a statement to generalize and to impugn their integrity and damage their lifestyle? Why?
But there have been suggestions that the Christian Council of Ghana, for instance, should be empowered to be able to deal with such situations, because as it stands now, there are a number of associations within the Christendom, yet it's not self-regulating.
Anytime you give government power to take anybody's freedom, your freedom will be taken away. Everybody, our constitution has a freedom of association. We should allow everybody to live their life according to the constitution of Ghana. If anybody breaks the law, let the law deal with the person. Don't let us legislate and force people to join organizations and associations that they don't want to. It is not by accident God gave us the right to live freely. So don't let us think that Christian Council, they have their own problem. Christian Council also has a problem. If we say that the problem Christian Council has, so they should listen to us, and that we are going to bring a legislature for Christian Council to come and join us. Will they do that? On which basis do you want to give them that power against other pastors and against other churches that are not in line with their denomination and their doctrine?
But it appears the Christian front is even divided in terms of who will self-regulate.
Every religion has a division in it. Look, every religion, there are more division in Islam than Christianity. You understand? Terrorists quote the Quran to kill people. Have we said Islam is a terrorist religion? Why do we treat Christianity? Because it's easy to talk against the church and Christianity. Everybody stand up and they are saying what they like. They are not happy with our humble approach to issues. They want us to be violent. Who will not? We are loving people. We understand. We are very self-controlled and accommodating people. But people should not take us for granted. They should stop doing what they are doing.
If anybody commits a crime, there are laws in God. Let the law deal with the person.
So regulation will not be the way to go.
There are enough regulations in the system. Let's enforce them. When you go and register your church at the Register General, you are given a form. In the form are regulations. So the Register General look at the regulations, look at your purpose for establishing the church before he registers you and give you certificate to operate. So if we register as non-governmental organization or non-profit organization, so we are regulated under non-governmental organization laws and regulations. So which law again do they want to come up with?
Okay, we'll leave it here for now. We're grateful for your time. That's the president for the Concerned Clergy Association of Ghana, Bishop Prince Benny Wood. Now, let's talk law, because we've heard it run through this whole conversation that there are existing laws that should be enforced. There are existing laws that should be enforced. We don't need new laws. But let's speak to a criminal law lecturer at the Gimpa Law School, Dr. Isidore Tufo. We're grateful for your time here on Top Story. So we're told that there are existing laws, but would they be able to cater for the situation that stands now? Don't we need a new one?
Definitely we need new ones. Let me say good evening first of all to you. But the regime of law that we have definitely is not adequate to address the issues that we have as far as the practice of religion is concerned. We need some innovations in the system, because some matters have come up. We have a law that is a little bit old, that is not current with modern development, and then definitely we need to have some innovations in the law that will cater for the new development that we have as far as the practice of religion is concerned. So that's the point I'm making.
Okay, so as part of the learnings about this issue, we came across the Criminal Offences Act. That's the Section 137, the charlatanic advertisements in newspapers. So portions of it I'll read. It says the publication in any journal or newspaper or any advertisement or notice relating to fortune telling, palmistry, astrology, or the use of any subtle craft, means, or device whereby it is sought to deceive or impose on any member of the public. It goes on. But the concern is that it looks like it does not deal with the situation that we have it now. So it's talking about advertisements in newspapers. Is it just to that area? So what if they do not advertise what they do? What happens to them?
Honestly, the problem is much broader than what we are talking about right now. We are looking at the practice of religion in general. For example, let me take in terms of the practice of Christianity. Who becomes a pastor? Who is a pastor? How does a person become a pastor? Who should be licensed to practice as a pastor? You know, in terms of relationship between the pastor and the congregant, how is that supposed to be managed? We have instances of abuses all over the place. We have instances of extortion. It's hard time we start talking about some of these issues, especially in the churches. These are the things we are talking about. We have religious leaders who are into all forms of activities, and we are looking here at the relationship between somebody who is in a dominant position, somebody who is in a position of influence, as against other persons who are members of the church. All these things must be regulated. We are in a modern dispensation where we should not be seen to be using religion to abuse, people. So these are matters that we are talking about.
But Dr. Tufo, the pastors will tell you, or even those who believe in this, it's a faith-based organization. If I have the faith that if I sow this much to the pastor, I will get this. How do you want to regulate that? You cannot regulate the Holy Spirit, they say.
Definitely. You have religion is based on faith. But we have excesses, and the excess is what we need to check in here. What about prayer comes that inflicts injuries and harm on people in the name of healing them? Is it a matter of faith also?
But the people went there willingly, they say.
No, but exactly. But a person cannot consent to harm that is unlawful. A person cannot consent to harm that is unlawful. So you cannot just say that the person came to me for healing, and for that matter, I administer this kind of harm to the person. That will go against the tenets of the law that we have. We have the constitutional right, we have statutory rights. So these things must be limited. So I think that in as much as we try to promote the right of persons to the free expression and then the religion, we must also have some limits or some guidelines that will help persons in the exercise of these rights. Otherwise, it becomes a free-for-all where a person can just set up any form of religion at all, turning to abuse people that will be unguarded. And where the person cannot find any form of relief, then the state must step in so that we have some of these checks in place. We cannot continue to have a system where people are subjected to other person's beliefs and whatever they think they are and continue to abuse people. That should end.
But the larger cloth that people hide under is the umbrella, I should say, that they hide under is the constitutional provision of freedom of worship. Will there not be an affront to it? With freedom of worship, freedom of association, they say.
Yes, you have freedom of worship. We have all constitutional rights, but they are not absolute rights. All these things should be properly curtailed within the tenet of the Constitution itself. So it does not mean that you have a freedom of religion. You are licensed to do whatever you want in the name of religion. That's not what the law says. So all these rights should be exercised within the limits that the Constitution prescribes. So they are not absolute. We must come with the guidelines to make sure that these rights are exercised properly.
We're grateful for your time, Dr. Isidore Tufo. He's a criminal law lecturer at the Gimpa Law School. We'll wrap up Top Story and hear some Ghanaians who've been sharing stories of abuse they've suffered in churches.
I remember my parents were asked to stop working. The reason was the jobs that they were doing was not from God. And so God wanted them to do something else. And that something else was linked to the church. And that meant that we're not going to be paid anything. It was difficult. It was hard to even see that some church members were asked to, give out their children and give out their babies because their babies were wizards and witches. And, for years, they don't even go back to look for them. In a church where you can be very sick, you can be extremely sick, then you go to the church and the church tells you that what is happening to you is spiritual. They keep you for days, weeks without treatment. I've seen church members die. If there's going to be any regulation, it is the right step and it's the right thing to do.
My sister was asked to, sell her things because there was a man who bought it for her. And so she also sold everything, including her fridge, TV, in fact, including our own clothes that we were wearing. We were asked to burn all of them, sell them out and all that. So we came back to zero. In fact, you go to a time, we have to beg. You go and buy something, they'll tell you that this thing that you've bought is no good for you, the person that has bought the thing. And rather, if the pastor uses it, it's rather best for the pastor to use it. The pastor will take the thing and use it. Meanwhile, they say the thing is no good for you. I wish we could have a regulation for them. I mean, nowadays the churches around, only God knows.
Some of your views there. Ending Top Story brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Gasem Cements, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready. And Nationwide Medical Health Insurance, your healthcare family. Coming up shortly on Top Story, will continue to borrow. Finance Minister declares as he reviews the current generation revenue is inadequate to sustain the country's developmental agenda. Plus more. Do stay with us.
Customer-oriented, superior services. Your success